I now get to funk with the rest of chat and people watching overseas. I get to get excited about Draven while listening to this jazz upbeat.
Yeah, especially into the Lucian Nami Draven, a great matchup there. You've already got the Wukong as well that can enable it. So I am looking at IG going, hey, we're going to have some teamfight funk coming on with this music.
Oh my god, it's just such a rare experience. I remember listening to the cast, I think it was you and Munchables, the same vibe going through you as well. So kind of exciting to see here. Now, as we roll through, Jiejie on Viego. What's new here? Ladies and gentlemen, we've seen Viego time and time again, and even though we are on 12-11, it doesn't seem like much has changed in the first 3 picks of each side, Dagda.
No, I mean, it's quite a similar patch, to be honest. Like, maybe you get a little bit more Ornn, maybe well, I was expecting to see a little bit more Zeri, but teams obviously haven't been prioritizing that this time around with both the Draven and that Lucian locked in. But we'll have to see what the bans are going to be. Gwen's still taken off the board, which means I imagine EDG are probably looking towards something like the Ornn in that top lane, or at least a tank in the top lane for Flandre.
Dagda, are they sure, or do they know that we're in 12-11? Like, it literally looks the same thing. Xun with targeted bans. Gwen's still banned away despite the nerfs coming through on E. A big deal, as you color cast, as the team said. Now, we get a Vladimir ban, which is a Flandre special. Remember that he has been playing this up at the top lane a little bit, so as we just go through Dagda and we keep targeting top lanes, I'm curious if we're going to see any changes coming through in this draft.
Yeah, we may not. Honestly, I think, like, LPL is very different for the likes of LCK and LEC, where we're still seeing a high priority on things like the Kayle. Gwen is still seeing play elsewhere in the world as well. Like, there's still a lot of picks that are there that I think teams have kind of figured out as their own style. Say things like Scout having the Twisted Fate, even though it is banned by EDG. Like, you're still looking at quite personal picks that you have to be cognizant of. And I think both teams kind of lending respect to that.
And now I'm really curious as to where we go in that direction, right? Scout's already had the Twisted Fate banned by him on his side. Dagda, what do you want to see here? Because we got top and we got mid that need to be picked up.
I feel like it's going to be the Ornn, as we already kind of talked about. Like, when you get to see the Gwen ban, and even with the Sejuani ban, that kind of opens up. You give counter pick to Scout. IG, though, I feel like Zika is probably going to go for something like, I was going to say the Camille. Fiora can work out here, but I think Camille, you get a good matchup on the side. It works in team fights as well, where you can have that dive and lock up for some of what EDG have. But I suppose they're also kind of looking, going, hey, look, the Nami can make that a little bit of a nuisance, so going to go towards the Fiora instead. But I think having good split push against an Ornn is always a good shout.
And so we've got a composition for IG that's worthy of the hype again, this team, who are coming out a bit unexpected off the gun. The start of this split, providing us with a little bit of flair. Dagda, we talked about the strong jungle, jungle mid 2v2. We do have an Ahri as the final lock-in for Yuekai. With the Wukong jungle, I guess we're still hitting that path for Invictus Gaming.
Yeah, I really like the Ahri here because it does mean you get good opportunity to roam. Scout probably just got to go back towards what has started to rise up since MSI is the main counter pick with the Lissandra. But it feels like for IG, you've got good dive buddies alongside the Ahri and the Wukong. You got the opportunity to roam around the early stages. You got two sides you can play towards really well with the Fiora and the Draven. So I think IG, again, going to be trying to play through this mid jungle we talked about and like lean into that side lane pressure.
So let's be a little bit more specific here as well. Side lane pressure for IG, Dagda, is it about finding momentum in the early game here for IG? Because on the other side, EDG with the Ornn, Lissandra, a lot of team fighting threat and a really heavy front line that can disrupt Invictus Gaming.
Yeah, definitely leaning down towards the bottom side. You want to be getting this Draven rolling early. So I imagine what we see is like Xun trying to gank Yuekai a couple of times, see if you can burn some summoner spells off of Scout. And then as you hit 6 off of Yuekai and you got 6 in the Nautilus, like trying to use that point and click CC to set up the Ahri on these roams. Later on, you can try and give help towards the Fiora. But I think Fiora going to be pretty alright in this matchup against the Ornn. She should be relatively fine if you want to just leave her be.
I just getting the violin in my ears. It's all so much. It's all so overwhelming. It's like a brand new day, a new cast coming through. I'll be honest, Dagda, you said a lot of words. I didn't listen to them. I know they were smart. The audience heard them. That's the main thing. But, you know, I did hear about setting up Wink in the early game, so I will be talking towards that Draven, asking you a little bit more as we get towards game. But for EDG, we talked a lot about Viper coming into this game, and once again, seeing Viper in a bottom lane that, you know, okay, it gets through its early stage, and then on the Lucian Nami here can have impact. I want to see if Jiejie plays towards that bottom lane, because as you mentioned, give Viper and Meiko some leverage, some support, because against a Draven Nautilus, best of luck.
Especially when Viper is your only real source of damage, right? Lissandra, even when she runs the electrocute, isn't going to be your top damage dealer in 9 times out of 10. So Viper does need to get help. Even opting for the Ignite in this matchup as well for Viper. Wow. They want to go ham in this lane.
Oh, I love to see it. Rare to see it, though, but still a love here from Viper taking it as an AD carry. Welcome to Summer's Rift. IG versus EDG. You might be sitting there thinking, why do I care about this team when EDG look to be the favorites? Well, for Invictus Gaming, their series against FPX were hyped up for a good reason. For IG, their recent series versus top esports still had a lot of early game success. Remember that, IG are better than we thought at the start of the season, 1 and 2 currently. Now for EDG on the other side, they got smashed by JDG, so it does feel like Dagda, we've leveled out quite a bit here with our stories, and it might be a bit more even than people would expect coming in.
Yeah, I mean, at least when I'm looking at this, I think Scout should have a good time in the mid lane. I think Viper and Meiko are going to struggle just with the way that bot lane matchup works. So, at least in the early stages, IG should have an opportunity to try and make some plays bot, but I think the big one is seeing if Jiejie can try and disrupt that to a certain extent. But it will be kind of difficult just with the way that a lot of these solo lane matchups are going at the moment.
Especially with Zika on the top lane. Look, already onto Flandre. Looking for that vital, and Flandre's exposed himself as well. Zika will not be able to get that extra vitals. There's a cooldown, but walks back up. And once again, Flandre getting hit. It's in the bottom lane. Level 1 going to be massive. Viper and Meiko on the 2v2. We talked about this. Wink is going to get early adoration with 3 CS, but still, first blood to the IG bottom lane. Dagda, they do it again.
Man, how did Wink and XinLiu just like,
oh my god,
Meiko?
That hook, XinLiu stepping up. Dagda, he heard you talking about him in the pre-game, and he said, watch me.
This is the thing, right? Like, IG's bot lane in their first 2 series, I'm going to be honest, they sucked. It went really poorly. They did not look good. Against top esports, they look great. Now against Viper and Meiko, just instantly getting a kill off rip. Like, this is exactly what I wanted to see from IG's bot lane.
I mean, the early game has been their strength. As XinLiu, he's been spotted out on a ward. Nice there from Scout to pull back, but XinLiu doesn't fit the Hex Flash. It was the ward just entering the blue side jungle. As Dagda, we look at this again, it was level 1.
And this is why, look, the Ignite can be great, but if you're not able to deal damage because of exhaust, you're always going to end up losing out on this trade. So just a really nice hook from XinLiu, and great follow-up from Wink.
And it's a Lucian Nami lane, Dagda. We were talking about this in draft a little bit. For Viper and Meiko, under pressure already, considering that Wink and XinLiu were such a big early game condition for IG in this game 1.
Yeah, and this is the problem. When you look at Viper and Meiko, yes, Lucian and Nami, super strong. But when it hits level 3, level 1, level 2, they just don't have the combos that they need to actually proc both Meiko's electrocute. You don't really get as much off the Tie Collar Blessing not being available. Like, you are very level reliant. And IG's bot lane, realizing that, just plays super aggressive and managed to get the kill there.
So we have double longsword to start off as Jiejie shows himself on the bottom lane. Flandre getting whopped with a very long fencing sword by Zika. Kind of what you expect here is Shun is playing towards the top side, knowing that bot's already doing well enough with the wave pushing in. No threat of a dive with Wink and XinLiu being safe, and Shun now up here to cause a ruckus as Flandre TP's back in.
It's also just really nice because you're going to end up mostly clearing out the camp that JJ is on his way for, right? And this is going to mean that Zika will have a little bit more free time here because JJ just doesn't have reasons to stick around the top lane if he has no camps. If he's just staying up in top side to make sure that Flandre is okay, well then he's going to be losing out in the race against Shun. And when Shun's on the Wukong, that's not what you want at all because level 6 is shortly around the corner, and that's where this monkey comes alive.
So many good options here for IG in the early game. Singing their praises with a 1k gold lead thanks to the bottom lane. As the way pushed in bot as well, note that the CS just about even. So Wink didn't lose out too much after Jiejie helped get that shove. But you're talking about level 6 Dagda, an interesting thing because Zika almost there. Remember that Yuekai is almost 6 as well. A lot of possibilities to say the same thing about IG again because top lane's already doing so well, and we did talk about the Fiora side laning becoming a big threat for IG to play through, maybe earlier than we thought.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing here is going to, is Wink and XinLiu trying to use their pressure bot side to move over towards this dragon. Shun is moving down here, just trying to support them on this to make sure that they can crash this wave. And then I imagine with the wave kind of being pushed in mid, Shun should be able to just move over and start taking these objectives because for IG, their composition revolves around this 4-man squad being able to put pressure on the map and around these dragons, while Zika is left on his own in the side lane. So getting these early dragons is going to be so important for him.
Well, I love that Yuekai, you know, as he makes the move as well on this Ahri, kind of groups up with Shun. What we talked about in draft is these two have a great pairing. But remember that Jiejie and Scout, we've seen worlds pass, we've seen splits pass. Jiejie and Scout have really developed that as time's gone on as well. Dagda made the first move here with Scout having level 6. They're moving to the bottom lane, and it's getting dicey.
Yeah, I mean, Scout hovering in the wings, but he will go back towards mid, and this is what I wanted to see from EDG, right? Like, trying to help out EDG on this bot side, but unfortunately, they don't get down while IG are still trying to crash that wave, and now there is this slow push back into XinLiu and Wing, so they just get to sit here, take it easy, and not worry too much about any pressure EDG are trying to move.
Let's just quickly pause, Dagda. Just come over to the side here. Just move over to the side while we see the early game and the Dragon started. I think they're listening to draft. I think they're listening to the English broadcast. Everything you said so far has come true. Like, Jiejie's playing bot all of a sudden. Shun controlling the map. Wink and XinLiu with a great 2v2. Like, I honestly think EDG's coaches, Dagda, they're writing down what you're saying.
See, joke's on them. I actually have comms in with EDG. So this is just a loop of I'm listening to EDG, who's listening to me, who's listening to them.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a league common inception. I like that. I like that a lot. Seems like a pretty rounded early game for IG. And all jokes aside, look at topside. Once again, Dagda, Fiora versus a tank, having a great time, but more so than you'd expect. Zika, 30 CS up over Flandre with the wave pushing in.
And this is where it's going to start to become a bit of a problem for IG. You've got, like, losing boss, losing top. Yuekai has good control over mid as well. So now Shun gets to go for these invades and actually use that lane priority to make sure Jiejie stays uncomfortable. Yuekai got to hop over the wall.
And he's level 7 as well. He's going to have himself a Spirit Rush on top of Jiejie. The flash for the charm, and Jiejie burns his own. No Heartbreaker available. Shun exerting the pressure. He's now got Cyclone as well, Dagda. Zika waits him brush ready.
Flandre, though, did get to clear the wave, so no dive will be happening. Okay. Scout as well, starting to get some control back of his jungle, knowing that Jiejie is going to need some help. But if you're getting a lot of these resources dedicated to the top side for IG, look, Zika's totally fine. He already has his big lead, and you're kind of leaving Wink on this bot side to his own devices. So starting to set up the wave there in the bot lane for a potential crash, which is going to be great because it is 8 minutes, and we do have this Rift Herald up and available.
And notice that Viper is going back to the bottom lane as well. He's just picked up the Gromp camp, so he'll be heading down there. AD carry's not joining. A 4v4 imminent as XinLiu spots out Scout over the wall with a good lens. Should now here as well, and just take a note of all the levels on EDG2. Scout with a Flandre with 7, so ultimate's available with Jiejie having his own. But he burnt the flash before, his charm going to narrowly miss, and it's a lure, a bait in as a root down. Yuekai not going to give over the reset, over to Jiejie. No summon available, Shun starts whirling for a 3-man knock-up. Second Cyclone on Jiejie, and he's got no escape. Shun, the blood of Invictus Gaming, making this early game a continued success.
Nice engage from Shun to set that one up, but again, I think they could have been a little bit cleaner from IG, right? Yuekai tries to go in with the charm, misses it. You don't have roam from Wink on that bot side, so it could have been a lot easier for IG, but now EDG, even with members lost, still have more tools in their back pocket to try and fight for this Rift Herald if they want to off these resets.
Okay, replay time. Run me through it, Dagda, because you're right, IG could have been a bit cleaner, but EDG are the ones that counter-engage.
Yeah, I mean, EDG go for this because they see Shun clearing the ward on the top side of the fight, but unfortunately just don't have enough damage to actually get that pick off nice and quick. And this level 6 from Wukong, we used to talk about it a lot when he was in lane, but it's so strong when he hits it. Can basically 1v1 anyone, and you get to see it there, the basically 3D.
Skirmishes the nuts while we come back to live, and the Herald being done, but IG are taking a lot of damage from it. Call the Forge God laser, but Zika with a great riposte. Now they turn it around on the top side, but EDG have something to say with XinLiu flashing away, but Flandre's the next target. The health comes down, the smite as well. It's over at Invictus Gaming as Wink cashes in again. Jiejie being stolen as that's actually Shun or a fake one. Wink now the next target as EDG have made this a successful turn. The skirmish into a big fight, and EDG silencing the early game once again.
This is what we talked about, though. When IG committed that many resources to that play in mid, they're going to have nothing left for this Rift Herald fight. And look, it doesn't go great straight off the boat bat, but when EDG are able to get themselves in position, they can turn the fight. And we'll see it here, right? Look at the ultimates that are available. Ornn ultimate comes across the board. You've got Nami wave that's there. You've got the culling that's there. Whereas you basically got the depth charge is only just available. You have the Ahri ult is gone. The Wukong cyclone isn't there. So the big tools you want to actually like turn this fight around aren't available. XinLiu's already taken a bunch of damage, so he's got to back away. And that's why EDG are just so easily able to turn these fights.
Nice picking apart the pieces. Viper even getting something here with the practical solo kill over Yuekai, and gold swings back to a near even point. EDG about 400 behind at 11 minutes when IG with the team that picked up the Herald, picked up the early kill. Wink was able to cash in, but Dagda, all of a sudden we come back and Scout is 3-0 on this Lissandra. A big team fighting tool to start abusing when EDG have regained some control in this game.
As you said, the Wink going to be very strong with 2 kills on this Draven. Eclipse now complete as well, the first mythic in the game. Zika was able to pick up the Rift Herald as well, so I imagine IG... Oh, hang on.
Yuekai caught out a little bit here. Doesn't have the flash available, but luckily enough the Spirit Rush is there. Dagda, you can go on as Dragon spawns. It looks like Yuekai might have given this one up.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, I think IG are going to want to try and play around mid to move into top side. Okay. So Fiora can use his Rift Herald, but looks like we're already here in mid, and Yuekai has no Spirit Rush.
Remember, Scout is 3-0. He's going to be the target for now, but has the ulti. The self-ult going to come through in the last minute. Wink's ulti wanted to cash in, but Shun gets the shutdown, and Dagda, ADG kind of abandoned the play, but I guess Scout was on a different page.
And that's the problem there. Scout didn't need to try and commit to that. They'd already turned around. They knew that XinLiu was there. And now IG, they get the Rift Tower charge on top side. They won't get the help they want. Oh my god.
That was predictable, wasn't it? Meiko, thanks for the extra cash.
I don't know what's happening, Hysterics. EDG. Like, just leave it alone. Just go home. They're like, you're safe. You're out of the closet. And then suddenly you're just like, no, you know what? This is exactly where I want to be. Make sure that I can go down with everyone else.
Cheeky little ward gives more to Invictus Gaming. 3k gold lead. All of a sudden, we're right back to where we started. Jiejie going to try and make something happen in the top side of the map. But Zika, remember, he's got his ultimate, still got his W available, and enough mana to play with.
I mean, look, this is just super messy from EDG. There is no reason why they should be giving over these kills. And we already kind of talked about, like, Scout was that big focal point for EDG. The fact that he got those early kills. Now, though, giving that shutdown go back over. Draven again now on 3 kills. Going to be getting up towards that Essence Reaver very quickly. IG have a big win condition in their bot side of the map. And that's not even taking into account that Zika is dominating in this top lane as well.
Now, CS has equalized a little bit up in that top side, but it's been a comfortable lane for Zika, as we've all seen. And further to your point, the member that you have to be scared of right now as EDG is Wink. Wink is 3-1. You were just talking about bot lane being a success. Wink has himself a Sheen as well, Dagda. There's an Essence Reaver most likely on the horizon with the Eclipse already picked up. And Wink is in charge of this game, and you can see that EDG are trying to set something up to stop this momentum.
And this is the thing. You go, okay. Yes, you can look for dives as EDG and go. Scout can lock up Wink in the late game. That's going to be all fine and dandy. You know, oh, okay, you can have like Jiejie go for the dive and try and kill him as well. Flandre should have good knock-ups and you know cleanse on Wink. Easy to deal with Wink. The problem is there are several... Ooh, XinLiu, hang on.
Is he in that much trouble? They're all coming over the wall. That's a flash, but Shun's waiting. A quick little counter angle as Jiejie gets knocked up and doesn't get a reset. A 1-for-1, and they keep giving cash to this man in the bottom lane.
And this is the thing, right now, Wink is going to be like, okay, cool, I've got all these kills. And if everyone tries to kill Wink, you've still got Shun, as you can see there, who can churn out a ton of damage. You got Yuekai, who can deal a ton of damage. And if they are able to pick off Viper, suddenly the damage profile of EDG is far lower. And when 4 kills are on Wink, if you don't deal with Wink, he's just going to take over the game.
That's true. 4-1, it keeps going up, and Zika going to get top lane turret as well. Guys, the gold will expand further. And at 14 minutes of the game, remember that IG picked up the last dragon, so it's not like EDG can really hard force that one as it comes through for the next couple of objectives. We're looking at gold on the left side of our screen as well, Dagda. Great timing, because Wink's at 7,400. Viper at 5,400 there. There's a 2k gold gap between AD carries.
That is absolutely disgusting. Wink, as you can see, is just reset, got his Essence Reaver now. And just in time for Rift Tower, which is about to spawn, which is, it looks like where IG are going to put all their pressure. Scout trying to deny IG access, though.
But how much further does it go? It's Jiejie being deep. XinLiu has already made the move. Dagda, while we see this little scuffle in the blue side jungle, I want to ask you about EDG's setup here. They are out here first. They're grouping up. Walk me through how EDG take a fight here in front of second Herald.
I mean, the big one is just getting Shun into a position where he can actually threaten the backline of EDG. If you have to deal a whole bunch of CC and resources to dealing with Shun, that's when you can actually have Wink take over the fights. And just denying vision control is going to be a big one, because if EDG are able to establish themselves, then it becomes a lot easier for a Scout to flank, Flandre to find good Ornn ultimates and that. And that's why EDG are pushing in this top side, so they've got a route to access this Rift Herald play.
And what about on the other side, Dagda? Because Herald are just about to spawn. In fact, it is now live. I want to know what EDG plan to do in this next coming fight, if there is one, or at least what you do in response as it seems to be a trade.
I mean, yeah, it looks like EDG aren't actually going to fight this. They're just going to move down instead to the spot side, look to try and get that turret for themselves, set up vision at this next dragon instead. Because it's 50 seconds until a potential third dragon is on the map. And if they can actually get vision control on the spot side, that's where they can have a better time to fight. As we said, like, getting Scout into position, getting Flandre at least vision so we can ult correctly is going to be very crucial for EDG in these engages.
Buying a bit of time so Flandre can get some levels as well. This Ornn, now level 11. Remember, 13 starts the upgrades, so we'll keep track of that for you folks at home. IG still in gold lead. It's 2K, but still it's been between 2-3 for the past 10 or so minutes, despite the one play where Scout got himself a triple kill. But Dagda, that dragon in 15 seconds. Vision completely empty for the time being, bar a couple of deep wards that EDG have set up, especially in that red side jungle, which has just been spotted out.
And looks like EDG are going to have a fight in their hands. IG have already moved into position, clearing out this vision. I was curious to see if they'd lead Zika on the side to try and deal top tower, but they just want to go for this.
Scout, you knew people there. He wanted to self-ult, but it gives Shun the position. You said, Dagda, he needs to get into it, and get in. He does as Wink all the way to the back. And Scout all the way to the front. He's out of there. While meanwhile, Flandre walks into certain death. The fight was done, and Edward Gaming, you're meant to be world champions.
I mean, they do have their monitors turned on, right? Like, Scout did see that the team was there. Like, this isn't just once. This has happened several times now. Yeah. And now IG, they're in a great spot. Zika solos at the dragon, and they got Rift Herald. They're just going to take 2 towers here.
And I want to be real with EDG. For fans tuning in for the first time in a while, EDG have had some question marks even throughout spring. Where people like Flandre, it's like, are they on the same page? What's happening with this team? They may be top 4 from spring, but you still look at Edward Gaming and you don't say that's championship form. This game number 1, they're getting piled on. And it's now 4K gold lead once again with Flandre walking into a 1v5 Dagda, as I know shortly we're going to see and probably question quite a bit.
Yeah, I don't really blame Flandre in that one, though. Like, Scout gets caught out, and you're like, look, we have to take this fight, so the only way you can do it is to actually go in. You'll see it here, right? Charm lands on towards Scout. Scout just not respecting the fact that there are people there. And at this stage, it's like, if Flandre doesn't go in, there's a very high chance that EDG lose even more off the backside of this. Yep. So that's why Flandre's like, look, I'm going to sacrifice myself so the rest of EDG can live. Charm is gorgeous there. It actually prevents the knockup from Flandre. But, I mean, that was definitely on Scout, just not respecting the fact that IG were in the area.
Jiejie dies for it as well. And Invictus Gaming, once again, making another early game look so competitive. But this one is transitioning Dagda. We're moving into a mid-game with the 2-dragon blue side team who has the gold lead, who has a fed Draven. Wink not really falling off anytime soon to Scout once again. Dredge line in. He's going to ult himself as a TP from EDG. They bring in Viper, but the depth charge on the AD carry is going to interrupt him, and Scout is still buying time. It could turn around as Shun finally comes in. He flashes, but they've taken so much damage to kill Scout. Last time it wasn't a bait, Dagda, but this time it sure as hell is.
And just didn't have members of IG in the area. EDG were able to collapse first, and just like that, EDG find their moment. Now they can push in mid, actually start to get some of this gold back in their favor. That was a great turnaround from EDG.
So much time gathered. Zonya's now picked up after the stopwatch. Scout actually redeeming himself, and EDG collapsing in nicely. They heard me talking smack, and they fight right back in this early game. Sorry, I got to stop calling it that. We know it's a mid-game by now, folks. We know it's only a 1K gold lead now. As well, where EDG Dagda, it's time for you to tell me a little bit how they transition, because you mentioned that IG want to play towards the side lane in Zika, 2-3 item Fiora. But when we have Ornn, Lissandra, Viego on the other side of the team, it feels like for EDG, when they come together, it's going to be very strong around these next couple of objectives.
And in theory, EDG have a decent team fight, right? The biggest problem that we said was you have to worry about how many damage members there are on IG's side, but your damage members aren't there. You've got Ahri on the top side, Fiora on the bot side, so it means that EDG get to safely turn around and just focus everything onto Wink. Viper, even if you look here, right, dashes forward with Gale Force, flashes forward to deal with Wink, and now Viper is once more on the safe side of this fight. He's consistently positioned himself with Flandre in between all the members of IG that can deal any damage, so you never get rid of the solo damage dealer of Viper on EDG's side, whereas IG's damage dealers are slowly but surely getting dealt with.
Now, Dagda, a quick reminder as to your don't for IG. You said IG, don't panic, right? And at that point in time, going to scout feels like IG were in a dangerous position, and I don't know, does that come under your category of panicking?
I think it was a nice idea by IG to try and set it up, but they needed to all be on the same page. It just felt like they were super late on the TPs in. Yuekai didn't even have his teleport up and available, so you just needed to move members preemptively into that position. As Hex Flash from XinLiu.
They want to
Zika
catch
found
out
Flandre.
though. I mean, he can't really do too much. Flandre walks right past him without caring.
Yeah, just two businessmen on the way in the morning with their, their newspapers just passing, giving a slight nod,
Morning, Phil.
moving on to their day jobs.
Yeah. EDG in front of the Baron. You can see there's already one piece of vision by IG and Scuttlecrab, but the rest cleared out, and EDG is starting to regain control. And it's really been a tug of war in this first game, but the one thing that remains true is Call the Forge God comes out is that EDG like to team fight as Wink gets caught out, flashes away. They pushed out the mid lane as well, and it looks like starting to gain a bit more favor.
That's a massive mistake from Wink, though. Not having your flash now for this potential third dragon is going to be huge. And now, if Scout is able to get the control that he wants over Wink, suddenly you can wrestle this away from IG. I think for IG, just give this second dragon to EDG. You're not overly worried about it. You have a good wave in that top side you can look to play around instead. Try and get the vision control that you need for Baron, and that's going to be more crucial for you in these upcoming moments.
Moving back towards it now as well. 25 seconds till Dragon, as IG are prioritizing that for the time being. Let's just quickly talk about side waves because they are, as I believe, pushing in EDG's favor. So IG will have to pay some attention to them as they group up once again. And Zika now with 2 items on this Fiora. Maybe someone to watch in this upcoming fight.
IG trying to bait in the bush. EDG aren't going to fall for it easily, though.
Yuekai needs to land the charm, it seems, as Scout wants the angle again. Zika pops out a bit of damage, and Scout starts paying that respect. Shun with his ultimate. Now, another thing we need to look out for is Jiejie holds that angle onto Flandre. Not really that much damage. A Scout flashes in the back line. That's an immediate push in, but Wink's still alive. Buying a bit more time. It's called the Forge God. It's great from Flandre, but EDG need to catch this Draven, and maybe he's acts as Jiejie, the one to do it with the Heartbreaker. The EDG World's Jungler at it again. Another reset. The man is a myth, but definitely also a legend. If I see him flash over the wall and survive yet again, I'm going to lose it. And lose it I shall. Jiejie with the carry on Viego. Ain't nothing like it.
Beautiful job from Jiejie to getting onto the backline, and now EDG will get the dragon for themselves, crucially getting the key members of IG down. Yuekai, the only one left standing.
Let's have another look. I called Jiejie a myth, Dagda. He's definitely not a myth, but a bit of a legend.
And here you can see Wink gets caught out exactly like we talked about, right? Knockups galore with the Nami wave, the Ornn, and even though Scout does go down, a ton of Wink's damage has been taken out of this fight. So the front line from EDG is just melting. Jiejie managing to get in with the hook as well after killing off the Nautilus. And from that point forward, Jiejie is just running amok, using all that extra damage that IG's damage dealers are able to give across them as he steals them.
I mean, isn't that just a bit of a masterclass on Viego? World class, world champion class, I should say. As Zika, we come back and he's ready to take out Flandre. The grand challenge issued, but not delivered. He needs the last auto. Flandre survives. Zika under turret. No! He's going to die in the 1-for-1. And you'll take that if you're EDG, but hang on. IG started Baron at this time, and Dagda, they're doing it quick.
Yeah, TP to the bot side from Lissandra means that IG might have position. Jiejie, though, is here, has the Heartbreaker to get over the wall.
And after that last play, I'd be scared. Viper with the culling immediately. Tidal wave as well. Jiejie into it, but no. It's a kill by Invictus Gaming, but 2-man Aqua Prison. means nothing. Scout comes back on in, locks everyone down. Shun into the Cyclone backline, buying time with his stopwatch. Scout is still here, uses his own as Shun whacks down on Viper. A two-man route from Scout, but there's no follow-up damage. Invictus Gaming have the Baron, have the elements under their control, and Meiko without any mana and any movement speed will be the last to die. Just like that, the game flips, and IG feel the heat.
IG finally realized that they can play side lanes, and you see it here. Zika spots Flandre that little bit too low, hops over the wall, and chases down the Ornn. Even though it ends up being 1-for-1, the TP from Scout, a massive overcommit, because it just gives IG the moment to go, right, we can actually turn towards this Baron, because Zika's dealing the damage on sides, and now you're just so late to this play, and Shun gets to set up beautifully with this engage. Jiejie very close to stealing that away, but was always going to give his life for it. And now you're in a 4 versus 3, and Shun is in a perfect position to get onto Viper.
How good a jungle is this game? Like, Shun and Jiejie having pop-off plays here. Right back into Viper, damage dealer down, and Dagda, it feels really nice to be talking about him, especially since Shun in the previous series, someone we highlighted massively. Jiejie is someone we talk about being really core for EDG as well. Both of them delivering on separate plays, and this game one giving us a 29 kill extravaganza.
And I'm not going to lie, I wasn't expecting as much bloodiness as we got into this game. I knew IG liked their blood, but EDG haven't exactly been crazy aggro, but IG have really pushed them to try and go for these plays. But now IG, with this Baron buff, get to play with Zika in the side lane.
Well, Cullen comes down. It's a 1v3 here. He takes half his HP with the electrocute over the wall, but EDG can't follow up. Meanwhile, IG using the Baron to a T, opening up the mid wave and setting up for inhibitor. And EDG have to play defensive now with Zika leveraging himself in the bottom lane too.
And that's all that they need. Zika can always heal up because he's got the Ravenous Hydra, and also, honestly, if you get some poke onto Flandre, so EDG spread thin here, and IG are working beautifully.
As Call the Forge God comes out, it's EDG's time to shine. His tidal wave flies as well. Aqua Prison tried. Shun getting low. IG. Health bars are burning, but Scout's in the middle of the team once again. As he goes golden, he's going to come out to certain death. As IG continue forward and EDG back away, but Jiejie with reset number 1. Dredge line out and Heartbreaker 2. They trade. Support for mid laner as Invictus Gaming keep on firing. Now Flandre moving to the wall, but he has to be careful, and IG will make him pay if he comes up any closer.
Yeah, they set up the wave here on bot side, so they get the mid inhibitor. They should be able to push on towards this bot tier 2. Although, as I say that, 45 seconds until Dragon is up. IG will need to reset if they want to try and get that one for themselves.
So Dagda, as Dragon comes through, it'll be the third either way. We have about 35 seconds till it comes up. I need to ask you, what are we expecting now? Because EDG so far behind. I don't get to ask you. It's replay century. Tell me more so of what you expected out of this fight.
So the big one here is look at where the ultimate from the Fiora comes down from Zika, right? Because Scout ends up going in, really nice job to actually turn this ultimate on towards Scout, because there's so much damage that's coming down right now. Once they pop that ultimate on Scout, they get a ton of healing. If they can do that again here for IG in this fight, they should be good, but they're looking for a Meiko.
Yuekai's already used the Spirit Rush. Charms come out, and this is my LPL. IG and EG stand strong mid as Everfrost is so close. And in this game one of the series, it feels so nice to say that we could be having 2 more of this as EDG start moving into the river and IG hold control. But Shun's on the flank with the Cyclone at the ready. He goes invisible, hits the bottom lane hard. Cyclone number 2, Viper tries to run away with Culling, layering in, but the rest of IG are tearing the world champions apart. IG have found their flair once again, Dagda, and it feels like a new year.
And in the Battle of the Junglers, Shun comes out on top. Phenomenal flank from IG's jungler, and that's going to set up IG to close out game number 1.
Against EDG, against a team that sure lost to JDG, but they're still world champions. They're still in high regards. IG, this split has started off so explosive, and in game 1, they'll do the same as Jiejie had one great play, but it's been Invictus Gaming for the majority of the game. Game number 1 to the underdogs. Game number 1 to one of the bloodiest teams in the summer LPL.
And IG are looking to take names this split. Taking a game off of Weibo, now they're taking a game off of EDG, beating out FPX. This is a team that wants to make sure that they are going to playoffs, and with games like that, it's hard to discount them.
I mean, this is why I'm so excited for this team, Dagda. Remember our little graphic. You know, IG still worth the hype. It was like this against Weibo Gaming we saw. Even against FPX with their 2-0. Top Esports, the early games really came into fruition. We saw a couple of little mistakes, as you were talking about, with some of the early skirmishes. But apart from that, they really recounted and, you know, went back into it full throttle. It was nice to see that IG's game plan was so continuous, so smooth, I should say. And that Shun had another one of those games where you go, hang on a minute, this guy is a serious jungler.
Yeah, there's two big takeaways for me from this. Like, one, again, the bot lane stepping up massively. The fact that you had that solo kill level 1 for the Draven and the Nautilus, I say solo kill, the duo kill, was really crucial to getting this Draven up and rolling and allowing him to snowball, and Wink becomes an absolute monster in the later portion of the game. And as you say, Shun, a beast. I love watching Shun. I think like he's such a good jungler, and the fact that he can step up and be these big carries, especially as you saw there in team fights, like the Wukong consistently getting on towards Viper in the back line, and once Viper was out of the equation, you just don't have the damage on EDG's side to carry through these fights. Shun realized that, was like, look, if I go down, it doesn't matter. As long as Viper is out of the fight, we're going to win it.
It's kind of crazy to me that, you know, we started 12.11. This was the very first game of it in the LPL. We saw a 12.10 draft. Like, it was practically the same. Yes, there's an Ornn, but remember, LPL was still having Ornns. Zika would have played a Jax, a Fiora, a Camille, Dagda, you said, in draft as well was a possibility. We definitely hit the same notes, and despite the nerfs coming through, you know, with E, with W, for Wukong, Shun still pulls it out as the first pick, and it pays dividends, considering that, you know, early game he was very solid, but once we got into these skirmishes, he was a clear-cut MVP.
Yeah, I mean, he was an absolute monster. And I think across the board, IG were spectacular. As you say, like, I think with Zika having I think the only criticism I really have for IG is that they could have played a little bit more with Zika on side lanes. Like, you could see there, like, the second they actually went for Zika being able to pick off Flandre in a side lane, that was when they were able to turn and get the Baron. But I think we're also seeing, like, for EDG, the mistakes that we talked about kind of creeping in as well. We said, look, trying to play around side lanes hasn't been a particularly strong point for EDG. Their mid-game decision-making has really let them down. And we saw that here as well, where Scout, like, trying to commit to that play to save Flandre in the bot lane, gave IG the Baron, gave them that massive gold lead that you can see just towards the end of cliff number 3 that we get on the go graph. Like, there were so many moments where this game could have swung in EDG's favor, but they just couldn't quite get it across the line.
Cliff is very well said. The imagery right there, you know, not the classic LPL gold grab people think of, but, you know, it kind of shows the swing and the fro, the to and fro, I should say, between EDG and IG in this game number 1. And in this 30-minute game, a bit of props to XinLiu. I think on this Nautilus, consistent engagements coming through Dagda. Remember, one of our biggest criticisms, apart from IG panicking, was that this bottom lane at the start of the split was a bit rubbish. You know, to paraphrase you at the start of that game. But XinLiu and Wink in the past couple have been really strong in the 2v2, as we saw by the level 1. But more importantly, XinLiu, aka Lucas, has been returning to that real classy form that he was in the peak of IG back in 2020.
And you can see that reflected in the stats there, right? 86% nearly of the kill participation is with XinLiu. Like, this guy was everywhere. The point and click on the depth charge, I think, suits him quite well, where they can kind of have this definitive, this is where we're going button. And even just to give a shout out again to Shun, like, the most damage on his team as a jungler is absolutely absurd. He dealt 25% of his team's damage. I have seen junglers on average this split do 9. So the fact that he is doing 25% is absolutely insane.
In the first big Wukong, making dividends here for IG. A game 1 win, a surprise by the underdogs, but nevertheless, IG still bringing that fury of blood. We see what happens in the rest of the series. Hopefully EDG can bounce back. We'll see in game number 2 right after this.